Hey folks, Jeff Gonzalez with Trident Concepts, and today I'm here to tell you about the perfect general purpose rifle, at least perfect for me. So I'm going to also give you a heads up that this video is probably going to be a little bit longer than our normal video lengths, maybe 15-ish minutes, but I promise you there's a lot of information. You're going to want to sit through it all because I'm going to do a deep dive into all the characteristics and features that make up a GP rifle. The first thing I want to talk about is defining a GP rifle. What is a GP rifle? Well, to me, a GP rifle is something that I could use in the mission sets that I'm talking about are self-defense, home defense, urban defense. I can travel with it, I can train with it, I can go hunting with it. You know, those are the mission sets that I'm looking for this rifle to do really well at. I need this rifle to be accurate enough, but I need it to be lightweight enough and compact enough that I can use it in confined spaces. If I need to shoot at extended ranges, for instance, from a hunting perspective, I want it to be accurate enough to do that. So that to me is what defines a GP rifle. So after we've defined the GP rifle, the first characteristic is going to be the caliber, choosing the caliber. And to me, it's a no-brainer. It's 5.56. Why? Cost and availability. It is the most prolific round in the US as far as rifle rounds are concerned. There are more rifles chambered in 5.56 than pretty much any other rifle that you can find. Why? Because the AR-15 is so damn popular. Manufacturers know that. They're going to continue to pump it out. And as a result, it's cheaper, right? When you compare this with other potential GP rifle cartridge candidates like 300 Blackout, 6.8, 7.62, it's so much cheaper, right? I can get it in bulk. I can buy this thing, I can buy this ammo in bulk and really save. So from a training perspective, I can't necessarily spend as much money on those other cartridge candidates, or I have to justify, is this a good investment, or should I just buy, a couple thousand rounds of 5.56 and train with it and get really good with it? And to me, it's the latter, right? So 5.56. Next is weight. For a general purpose rifle, I want this thing to be as light as I can get it. This is a Daniel Defense V7 SLW. SLW stands for super lightweight. And it is. Naked, this thing weighs 5.9 pounds. So let's just say 6 pounds. It's awesome. It's great. So as a consumer, when you're shopping around, you want to be looking at what that rifle weighs naked because you know you're going to put a bunch of crap on there. And so what's the right limit? So we know our left limit. What's the right limit? About 8 pounds. Right? You definitely don't want to go over 9 pounds. You have a 1% chance of passing our Rifle 2, Rifle 3 if that rifle weighs more than 9 pounds. Why? Because we do a lot of shooting from various positions, not just prone, when you have good connection with the ground. We're shooting from standing and kneeling, and those positions, the stability aspects of them are tricky. Yes, we've gotten really good with stabilizing the rifle from a standing position, but when you go into a kneeling position, surprisingly, most people don't practice kneeling, which to me is disappointing because the kneeling is such a power position, particularly in an urban setting. So standing and kneeling, the stability of the rifle is largely tied to how heavy the rifle is. And the lighter the rifle, the easier it is to stabilize it. So that's weight. Keep it at 8 pounds or 8.5, but if you go over 9, you're just gonna pay big time. And I don't mean in money, I mean in effort. After that, we talk about the barrel, because to me the barrel is the heart of the rifle. All this other stuff supports the barrel. So I want a 14.5 inch with permanently affixed flash hider that gives me a 16-inch overall length. Why? Well, again, it allows me to travel with this, to train and to keep my skills up no matter where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I do travel with a rifle a lot of times. It's not as hard for me to travel with a rifle, particularly when it's street legal. So 16 inches overall length is kind of the key, but I chop that down by permanently affixing that flash hider. Now that flash hider is a Surefire War Comp that mates up with my Surefire suppressor, my RC3. I shoot suppressed only about 30 to 35% of the time. And part of that is because of the logistics involved. The paperwork that goes into getting them, the paperwork that goes into traveling with them, knowing whether or not it's legal to take them into certain states. To me, it's just another logistical nightmare. I can travel, I think it's like 46 states with this rifle as is, so a lot of times the suppressor stays at home when I'm traveling. After that, the chamber. I want the 5.56 chamber because it's forgiving. It's designed to be, low maintenance, dirty, grimy, whether you oil it or don't oil it, that 5.56 chamber is designed to be very forgiving. It's also designed to shoot the hotter cartridges, which I prefer. I want a 1-in-7 twist because that's going to give me the ability to shoot the better anti-personnel rounds, which typically are about the 62 to 77 grain bullet weight. So that to me makes up the barrel, the heart of the rifle. The 4-in shrouds the barrel. It's not part of the barrel, but it shrouds the barrel. And again, I prefer these things to be a little bit shorter. This is 13.5 inches. If I had my druthers, I would want this at 12 inches. Unfortunately, this is how it came, and I just can't, bring it upon myself to shorten it or find a way to shorten it, so it is what it is. But I'll bet you I could probably cut about 2 ounces, maybe even more, if I cut this down to 12 inches. So that's the barrel. As we move back, one more thing. Could I go with a short barrel and drop weight? Yes, I could, but that also adds the complexities of the logistical chain that I was talking about with the suppressor. You got to go through the government and all that other crap. But what can I do to accurize this rifle? Could I drop in a match grade barrel? Yes, but if you do, you're probably going to add weight, and so that's the crux. But I could drop in a match grade trigger and get virtually the same performance. If this is a good barrel, made it up with a good trigger, that's impressive. So years ago, about a decade ago, I got together with Bill Geistley at Geistley Automatics, and I drew out my idea of the perfect trigger. Handed it to him, he looked it over, nodded his head and said, we can do this. And about a week, 2 weeks later, I got in the mail a 3D printed prototype that I could drop in and do dry fire with. Couldn't do live fire, but I could do drop fire with it. And I was like, boom, that was it. So thus began the collaboration between Geistley Automatics and Tricon for the Super T, which stands for Super Tricon. I will caution you though, it's so devilish, because once you start playing with this thing, it's hard to turn away. It's hard not to drop these into other rifles that you have. So that can easily help you accurize your rifle. The next thing we talk about are sights. And this was a really tough thing for me because I'm such a red dot shooter on a rifle. I've been a red dot shooter going all the way back to the Navy. The problem is that I want this thing to be able to be, I want to be able to shoot this out accurately, for me, out to 300. Could I shoot it beyond that? Yes, I could, but I'm going to have to really rethink my gear. 400, 500, 600 is going to be more challenging gear-wise, so I really want to think about that, and it means I probably would change my gear. But 300 and in, man, what you see is, it's perfect. So I reluctantly at first went with the LPVOs, and it took me a while to find a decent one. But the LPVO market has really brought up, they've really evolved over the last 5, maybe 7 years. And so what this is a Night Force NX8, and this is I love this. I love this optic, first of all. It's a 1-to-8 power, which is pretty nice, because even if I were to run a red dot with a 3-power, maybe even a 5-power magnifier, it's not going to be nearly as clean or as effective as this thing. And I'm getting 8. It is, in my opinion, probably the only true daytime red dot capable optic. Then it has a tactical reticle, and I love that. So, 17 ounces, about 18 inches long, or 8 inches long, perfect as far as I'm concerned. But even as good as this optic is, you still need to have backup iron sights for a GP rifle. This thing, the battery could die, the optic could break, I could lose whatever, 0, you name it. There's all these other reasons out there. So I want to be able to have some sort of sight system. So that's where the backup iron sights come into play. I'm running the Magpul Pros, which I really love. They're super light, or super low profile. And I went with the long range version, the LR version for the rear sight, which has a BDC allowing me to shoot out to 2, 3, 4, 500. Haven't done that yet. I've only got this out to 100. Why? Because when I'm shooting at 1, 2, 3 or more, I'm shooting this optic, not the iron sights. So I do want to get out there and shoot with my iron sights. I've done some iron sights pro dev, which I'll be posting some videos down the road, because I think it's still important that you have that skill. I like shooting iron sights. I'm not as good as I used to be, but I still like shooting my iron sights. The nice thing is that I have this optic in a LaRue mount, which is a great return to 0. So I do get that comfort of knowing that I can return to 0 and in a pinch be good to go. I found that it's probably about a ½ inch to an inch off at times, but I mean, that's, for as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for government work. So after the optic, other things that you might see, other accessories, the stock and the grip. So I change out and I go with a Magpul CTR stock. It's just one of the lightest stocks out there. And that's another thing. I took each piece of gear and I individually weighed it, and then I put it on the rifle, and then I weighed the rifle together. So as I was selecting all these pieces and parts that went onto this rifle, they were selected because they were the best in their class, but they were also the lightest in their class. So, or the lightest best in their class. So I like the CTR stock. The Myad stock is one of the few, Myad grip is one of the few grips that still has the finger groove here. And I like that finger groove because I use a choked up grip when I'm shooting, so it allows me to really get my fingers in there and cam that grip nice and strong. After that, we really talk about a weapon-mounted light. So I believe a GP rifle should have a weapon-mounted light, and this is something that we can go down the rabbit hole on. But just remember, we're trying to maintain that less than 9 pounds or 8 pounds is better. So that means that I have to be selective about what type of light. Plus, I need to really think about the most likely mission sets that I'm going to be using this rifle for. Self-defense, home defense, I'm probably going to be indoors for that. And if I am indoors, I want a light that's powerful. So this is I think it's 500 lumens, maybe 7,500 candelas. It's got a really good hot spot, but it's got a great flood, good throw. So what that allows me to do is look through my optic, use the throw to actually look into, as opposed to just looking through my optic at the hot spot. So I can use my head and eyes to look all around, maintain higher level of situational awareness. I want that for self-defense, home defense setting. Is there a time that I might change this out and get something that's got a wicked, more powerful hotspot? Yes. And if I would, it would be this Mini Scout Pro with the turbo head. It's heavier and it's bigger, but if the mission called for it, that would probably be it. And I would sacrifice the extra weight that it would cost me. I think it would add 4 ounces to my rifle. It doesn't seem like it's a much, but believe me, it adds up over time. So, selecting your white light needs to be something that you think about from the mission set that you're trying to do. Yes, you may have to do some sort of urban defense. And then again, you have to be, when you get into that, that's another slippery slope, because you have to not only argue with the legal aspects, but the ethical and moral aspects of that type of setting. So just be real careful. Yes, maybe you can make an argument for it, but what's the most likely scenario that you're going to be using this rifle for? And that's going to be self-defense, home defense type settings. The last thing we talk about is the sling. I believe that a GP rifle needs to have a sling. I don't weigh the sling. I don't include the weight of the sling when I'm carrying the rifle, but I want a sling that is adjustable. I want to be able to carry my rifle, go hands-on if I have to, be able to get in and out of vehicles easily with it. I want to also, and this is more of an administrative thing, I want to be able to easily and quickly remove the sling because I store all my rifles that go into a safe without the sling on there. So I want that to be easy on and off. Why? Because there was that one time and I pulled a rifle out that had a sling that somehow snagged onto other rifles that just pulled everything out. It was a mess. It was such a clusterfuck. Really pissed me off. So after that, I store all my rifles in the safe without a sling. I think that covers it from tooth to tail as far as my ideas, my arguments for the perfect GP rifle. If you got questions or comments, hey, post them down below. If you have a better idea, or you think you have a better idea what makes a perfect GP rifle, post them down below. Or let me know what you have as far as your general purpose rifle. Would love to hear that. Love to talk about it. All right, folks, until next time, stay safe or be dangerous. Adios.